Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's been a long time. I haven't seen you all. Has been all day. Today we are entering our last session for the digital navigator training, building a digital navigator. And today's presentation is building access, designing a tech hub for teachers and learners. Now, we have been we went through all the different components for digital navigator. We talked about what they are. We talked about some roles and responsibilities. We looked at digital equity services. We looked at the diverse learner checklist. We looked at different OER and different resources that we can use in order to continue to develop digital skills. And now the purpose of this session is kind of put that all together. How do we house a central location where all this information is put together? And as I was preparing this presentation, I was thinking, what would be the best image to do that with? And reality was I had about 5 images here, so I had to think about it. But I decided to put here a phone. And I don't want to say why I chose a phone. And you might have an idea as to why. But I would like to, as you go through the presentation, just think about how the students access information and what would be the best approach in order to make this information accessible for students. So that's something we're going to be going throughout the session here. If you have any questions or would like to make any comments, please feel free to enter the information on any questions and comments in the chat. I'll be looking at it periodically to just see, what's comments and what's going on. So the goal and agenda. After the goal, when I wrote when I was setting up the presentation, I specifically put here, create a curated list of services and resources that align with the needs of the agency, providing equity and access to all learners. Reality, there's not enough time in an hour to put all of that together and work on it. However, throughout the session, I will show some of the resources, and I'll show you 2 programs where you could actually create one. Not saying that it's ready to go, but you'll be able to see how quickly it is once you go through your curated list in creating these and making them accessible. There are some editing that needs to happen before you do that, but just so you could get an idea of how you could create these at your agency based on the needs of your teachers, your learners, and what's available. In today's session, we will do an inventory of digital related resources. We're going to categorize the resources by type and purpose. We're going to explore the different options available and design your hub based on audience, digital skill level, and accessibility. Again, this last part is what I'm going to model with 2 of the programs, so you can see more or less how that translates from the prep phase up to like the final project layout. So starting with the inventory of digital resources, I wanted to pose a question out to the chat to you. You can unmute if you like, or you could put them in the chat. You could answer one or more of these questions. What digital resources do you rely on for planning or professional development? This is inside or outside of your agency. Where's you go to for digital literacy resources? Why do you prefer these resources? Why is this your go-to resource? Does your agency offer similar resources? If so, where can they find out? Where can they be found? Sorry, I'm looking kind of sideways here. And last question, who is the intended audience for these resources? Is it for teachers, students, support staff, or others? I'll give you like about 2 minutes just to give you a chance to type in the chat. And we'll move on from there. Thank you, Patricia. So Coursera is your go-to resource, has a wide variety, easy to use. You're not sure if agency offers similar, and it's intended for professionals. Thank you so much for sharing. Control Alt Achieve. Gonna click on the link. I'm not sure what I'm looking for though. Let's see. Control Alt Achieve. Oh, I like the 3 buttons. I'm gonna save this so I can look at it later. If Christy, you wanted to unmute and share, you can, or if you want to type in the chat to give me a quick.
Yeah, thank you. I'll unmute because it'll be faster than me typing. He is awesome. I created a whole Google Classroom for PD for my staff after COVID because he provides for free his webinar on a subject. He provides the digital paper links to what he's talking about in his PDs, and he goes from real basic, which I have used actually with a couple of my ESL, my adult high school students, to real in detailed things, um, technologically. So there's just like, he's so knowledgeable and provides all of his information for free.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm definitely going to look into that. I already opened the tab. Make sure I'll save the chat at the end, and I'll make sure to go back to that. Thank you for sharing. Carol, so Google, that's first question. You use Google, and then not sure in regards to if they offer similar resources at the agency, and then students and self. Perfect. I do mostly of my planning on Google Docs and Google Sheets, and I use several resources of lesson materials like the Digital Inquiry Group, PBS, and Facing History and Ourselves. Thank you for sharing, everyone. It's very interesting looking at these 4 options here. There's a lot of variety of what's being used, right? And part of the Tech Hub is to kind of give it more streamline some of these resources. Some of these resources are can be used across different programs or across different classrooms, but sometimes it's restricted based on who's the teacher or who's that support staff that's providing it. Unfortunately, when a staff member leaves, tends to happen that they leave with all the knowledge and all the resources with them, right? Tech hubs will allow that equal access and opportunity across the different programs, and also, but most importantly, for the students as well. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Getting ready to build access. So through this process, our goal is to provide equal access and opportunity to services, resources, and support across the agency. Again, looking at you have someone that's very knowledgeable of a particular service or provider. Not all staff in the agency knows that that person is knowledgeable. So then only those that make that connection from A to B can actually point out to that connection that they could hand out. So then you're restricting what opportunities are available, right? So the first step, or these are a few ways that we could initiate this process. In our first step, it would be identify learner needs, wraparound services, requirements, and other pertaining information. Throughout the Digital Navigator training today, we have been working on these different areas where we continue to build on not only the identifying those needs, but also what's available in the community in Connecticut, and kind of building out how do you create these different learner paths for learners, right? Second, flag areas of improvement in your programs, classrooms, and other areas where learning takes place. A lot of the barriers that we have at the agency is based on what's available, not just resource wise, but the limitations of time and resource that students need in order to achieve these goals. Sometimes we take shortcuts. Sometimes we just can't, we just kind of brush up on some of those skills. One of the comments from a previous session today was referring that, there's not enough time to really go into the specifics of how to develop certain skills. So you kind of generally tackle them, but not enough for them to show proficiency. So how do flagging these areas will just show not only what wraparound services are available for that, but also to identify what areas need additional support that's not being covered. Reality, you're not going to be able to cover every single aspect, but progressively, as you continue to build, you could then, because they're flagged, you know what areas you could continue to focus on based like on a priority list. Last but not least, compile the information and place it in an accessible location. I was going to give you different examples, but I put spreadsheets. I love data. That's not the reason why I'm recommending spreadsheets. There's other benefits in preparing a lot of these tech hubs that I will show you with the same spreadsheet or a similar spreadsheet with like the columns and rows without going into the nitty-gritty of each one. Evaluating your options. So here I have a set of questions. I'm going to put these in the chat. I think I typed them. Maybe I didn't. Give me 1 second. I'm going to need to type it. Give me 1 second while I put this in the chat. Can everyone see the screen? We're in evaluating your options.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So here you have a list of questions, right? I put them in the chat just so you could reference them as we go and look at different options. But first, I want you to think about what is your first impression of the application? What features stand out to you and why do you like them? What challenges or questions came up when navigating the application? Was it intuitive or did you need preparation to understand how it works? And lastly, what digital skills are required to effectively use the application? We're not going to break this down at this level, but these could be questions that when you're looking at your agency and you're looking at some of that information that you have available to help pinpoint how these would play in those contexts. Our first option, spreadsheets. Now, this is a little bit different than my example that I was referring to, right? Recommended programs here, Excel, Google Sheets, and Airtable. Spreadsheets allow for flexible categorization and reorganization of resources. It helps you filter resources that meet certain parameters like categories and audience. It quickly reorganizes and sort columns to accommodate new resources and information. Very handy for live documents, or if you're continuously adding things, allows you to regroup. So even if it's the last thing that you added, you can make it go into the second row because that's where, it's the area that it's aligned to. Create multiple tabs to organize resources in different ways. And you could create and save custom views based on the audience needs, resources, resource type, and others. So like for learners, as an example, you could only show relevant resources while hiding some columns so they don't need to see all of that. And if it's for teachers, then you could provide extra details such as teacher material or suggested applications for each resource. We have two examples here. When you get access to the document, you'll have access to these. We already went through the Bridges digital learning checklist. Only thing I'm going to say with this one, and I'm going in again just to show you, is that you have like your groups here where you could hide information and unhide. So you could see only the information that you really want to see. And then you have your filter views here where you're only showing a specific set of, in this case, skills that meet the parameter that you set. And if this is something that you're looking for, tech implementation and support, it's a great way for us to assist you in setting these up. The one I want to go a little bit more, this is more aligned to what we're using spreadsheets in general, is the Digital Accessibility Guidelines Library. This is a collection of accessibility features to ensure that digital equity or that digital resources are accessible to, let's say, someone that can't see us, you know, or have what you call it, if they are not able to see like certain combinations of color, or if you're looking at a text to speech program that someone that cannot rely on their vision, so it can read it out to them properly. And it has a, you know, the color contrast, what I was trying to refer to. And there's just a list of different accessibility features that are grouped in 4 areas, which are used separated by tab. You have general accessibility, document accessibility, PowerPoint, and PDF, right? And these are designed in a way that you could use a spreadsheet as it is without doing anything in addition to. And this we have on our website as well. Posted, has its own post. Mary Kate wrote on it and designed it, and added all that information. Very handy if you need to make any accommodations to documents and digital resources. So this is our first one, right? Again, you have the questions there. You don't need to share right now. If there's something that you would like to post, you can. But again, it's more like to get you kind of through the different options. Exploring options, number 2, Kanban boards. Didn't know that that was the name of it. I just thought it was columns because that's how you find them out in Padlet and in Wakelet, like the column format. But Kanban boards can serve as a simplified version of a spreadsheet that allow easier viewing of key information. So we're looking at, we'll see, there's 2 examples here. You also have Jerry's example from this morning, where he had a list of resources that you use as part of the presentation, but you could see like the different categories, like by column. But Kanban boards, they organize resources into scrollable columns for quick, easy access. They display announcements, upcoming events, categorize resources, links, and more, whatever you put in that Kanban board. Users can navigate by category. So an example will be employment, digital training, community events, without needing to read the entire rows. So unlike spreadsheets, where a row is tied, it's like a sequence of information that's tied together, with Kanban boards, it's just, you have like that cell, and that cell just a specific resource or something within that section that is being added. So an example will be, I'm putting here 2024 voting and election resources for adult education students. This was a Padlet that was shared by I'm trying to click on the link, Cynthia Peters. She had organized the different activities based on, you know, trying to target media literacy and also like the elections. and grouped everything here. So it's like all your go-to spot for voting and election resources. You have your .gov websites, your .org websites. You have lesson plans here. You have election lessons, online activities, video resources, news, literacy, voting, elections, jobs, volunteers, voter stories, New American Voters. This is a collection of resources. So there's not a specific pattern or way for you to go through each one of these, but then you could quickly in one place find all these different options or different resources. The next one wasn't, I started this one back in a few years ago, and this was based off Naugatuck Education. They had a digital bulletin board that I just fell in love with, and then kind of following suit, we did this for a few years in New Britain. And basically, how we used these was very similar to what they had, which was having different areas where there was things occurring. So we had like job postings, local events that they had. If it was job related, they were posted here. If there were career search websites and things that were being posted, flyers and things like that, that was tied to that, it was organized that way. You had post-secondary opportunities, you had financial aid and scholarships, employment resources. In one of these, we even I don't remember which one it was, or probably it was a different one. At community event and resources, we had like the COVID vaccine and testing sites. But we even had like interview skills and things like that. So there's different types of resources that you could just select how you wanted to organize and tackle different areas. You could be more specific and just have it, let's say, digital literacy, and then all the different components. Like these are digital equity services, getting accessible broadband, and break it down even further versus just having like a one general place. But this built the habit of, let me go into the bulletin board to see what's happening. And of course, with this one, there's a lot of it's time sensitive information. So it allowed for learners to go in there, they're already expecting that they will see things that will be occurring as time as the year went. Again, we have the questions here. You can kind of think about it. What is your first impression of the spreadsheet? What are your first impression with the Kanban boards? What features stand out? How similar or different they are, really. What challenges or questions come up when you're looking into these two options? Do you think it's like easy to follow? Is it intuitive? Even the keeping up with the resource is another question that I didn't add here, but also has bearing, because then that means more time that you spend to make sure things are updated. Our third option are apps. And here we only have Glide as our example. Formerly Glide Apps. This is where our digital ATN on-demand videos come from. That was one of my first projects, I think, when we started in digital ATN, and it's the versatility throughout the years has changed a lot. But Glide uses a spreadsheet format, what I was referring to earlier, right? Either Excel, Airtable, Google Sheets, or it has like an in-house spreadsheet as well to organize and display resources. It converts your spreadsheet into a customizable app-like layout with tile cards for easy navigation. It allows for categorizing resources across different pages or sections. It customizes views by topic, level, or preference to streamline access to specific information. And it presents larger amount of data in a user-friendly, non-overwhelming format. And I think that I might want to show you this as an example. Now that I'm thinking about it, right? So this here is a spreadsheet. I'm not sure if this is the spreadsheet that they used for the app, right? But this is a spreadsheet that's available with all the stories and reading skills for today's adults. They're organized by level. They have them categorized by topic. They have links to the different activities that they have and links to the stories itself, right? That's how it looks like on a spreadsheet. You pretty much upload that in the spreadsheet. You kind of customize the app. And when the app is ready, this is what you look at, right? This was like before like the big updates for Glide. But now here you could access the stories by topic, right? So I'm going to say, oh, let me do civics. We were talking about the election, right? So you have here level A, level B, resources, level C, keeps going. So then I'll do citizenship, a dream come true. And now you have all your links here. You have your practice vocabulary, read your story, check for understanding. You can launch the Wakelet version of it. And then you have story details here, right? All of this that you see on this page is really what you see on this row. Like if you take that row that I just highlighted all the way across, all that information is organized and placed in a way where you're not seeing everything from the spreadsheet. You're just seeing that little piece that's tied to what you clicked, which was the name of the story, right? Forgot where it was. Here you go. And then you can still access the same information. This is the mobile view of it. In the updated version, it's a little different, and I'll show you another example. But here you'll see the information here. We're going to do the digital accessibility guidelines, which is what we looked at before. You have your different areas here on the side. So you have your general accessibility. You have, see, document tiles, alt for text, color contrast. You keep going, right? So I just need to look at things that have to do with text. I'm working with text, not sure where I need to go with that. So I'm going to type text. Anything that has the word text in it, it'll actually index it. And then you could, descriptive link text, real size text, non-color cues. So when you go here, the word text will be somewhere. Okay, there you go. Use additional cues, provide multiple cues such as text labels. And so it lets you identify by different areas and just see what you're looking for. Our fourth and last is our, oh, it's not Padlet and Wakelet. It's Google. My bad. My bad. Supposed to say maps on top and then Google My Maps on the bottom. So with Google My Maps, you could create a custom map with your own pins by adding directly to the map or via import from a spreadsheet, right? You could add links, location addresses, and additional information for each site. You could batch edit. Batch editing is available through spreadsheet import, which saves time on updates. Again, going into the spreadsheet, you can do that individually with My Maps, but it sometimes takes a little bit more time to kind of pinpoint how you want to do that. And then you have it's ideal for visually organizing services by location, providing a clear interactive experience, right? Because it's a map, you could see the area. Students could kind of point the, okay, I'm here. This is what's available around me, and see those local available agencies. The example here is the CT Digital Equity Partners map that Mary Kate had shared earlier today in her presentation. And then here you could just select whichever resource. Let's say I'm going to click on Brookfield Library. And then anything on Brook, any information from there I could see. I see the address, what is the official town, the website of the location. You see the telephone number, if they have Wi-Fi access outside the building, if there's available of device use in the computer, and then you see like all the different areas. The purpose, as we were talking about, is to find what works at your agency. What does your learners need in order to make this, in order to make all of these services and things that you're using at your agency accessible for learners. Any questions so far with the options? Based on how much time we have left, I'll share the links to all of these, and you guys could take a look and explore some of them and just ask any questions if you have any. If you wanted to see something specific, maybe you're wondering how one program is working, or how would it work in a specific scenario, we could also explore that. With all that information, going back to the first presentation, I mean, the first slide where we had the mobile, right? What is the mobile experience for all of these different programs? I like to make, I'm a, when I work with resources, I like to test how they work on mobile, because most of the time learners will have more access or hands-on time with mobile. And if it's content-wise, I want to make sure that they're included and still are able to interact with the content. There's some things that we do want them to do on computers and get used to it, but some of these skills we could build from the learner experience, but also at that other and the other support services for them. Okay. So the for Google Sheets and Excel, in the mobile experience, they do have their own apps. It's difficult to navigate with large spreadsheets. So if you're trying to navigate through the presentation, if you're trying to navigate through the bridges sheets, it tends to be too much to follow because you lose track of where you are on the spreadsheet. So if it's something smaller, you could follow. If it's something too large, it's difficult to track. With Airtable, which is another option, it is more friendly, more mobile friendly, but it requires more training to understand how do you go from one place to the other. You tap and it opens like a window within it, and then you don't know like where you are when you're navigating through it. If you're a beginner user, so to speak. With Kanban boards, the columns fit well on mobile screens. You could have like the entire column going down, and you could just scroll up, and it only scrolls up on that column. And then you move left and right, and you have your other columns, and you could swipe and you could go back. So it's very consistent with each column, and it's easy for you to navigate through. The Google My Maps does not offer a smooth experience through the shared link if you're sharing the link directly at the agency, um, directly from the website. But there is an option to do that through Google Maps as well. And that's also a little bit challenging because you need to go under the a U section that they have. You go under your map section to pull out any maps that you have access to. Any maps that you have access to, and then it's just it tends to be a troubleshooting experience and not easy to go back and forth. The last one with Glide, it's highly customizable and it's easy to use on mobile, allows for flexible reorganization without impacting the layout. You can add stuff to the Glide if you have it linked to the spreadsheet, which is an option. You could add stuff to the spreadsheet, automatically updates in Glide. It reformats on the mobile screen. You could see, and then it adapts to the larger screen. Sometimes on the larger screen might be too small. If you make it too big, then it's too big on the mobile. But general experience, you get a very similar, a very easy approach if you're using the app. Both. So if you good question, Patricia. So the question is, does Glide work with Google Sheets or Excel? I'll show you how it looks with what works with Google Sheets. I personally use Google Sheets because the sharing piece, the way we work with them, I mean, I guess it's just preference based on since shutdown. But you could do Excel as well, and then you would just either you uploading it to Glide, and once you do that, the document that lives in Glide, or you're just linking it to Glide through Google Sheets, and then whatever changes you do in a Google Sheet, it automatically applies to Glide, which is pretty nice because then Glide just remembers how you want the tiles to look like, and then it'll just do it for every single option. Good question. So after talking about all that, right? If I wanted you to remember something for what I shared, you could watch, of course, the recording, but I wanted to have a page, a slide where I only talked about the specifics, right? Like the overview of it. If you're looking at a spreadsheet, it's ideal for maintaining an active resource list that can be easily organized based on specific parameters. You could change the sorting, you could move and all that, and all that is available with spreadsheets. You don't notice a lot of that changes unless you start the document on a doc instead, or like a Word document or Google Doc. That's when you start seeing it's a little bit more difficult. But it could also be used to organize resources for the other options, which we're going to look into maps and apps. Thank you for the question. Oh no, comment. Google My Maps not available for Android. Thank you for letting me know. I was wondering that piece, and I didn't test it out. I tested with the iPhone. You could open it from the link, and it's not as intuitive. The Google My Maps, you would access that through your actual Google app, Google Map app, and from there they have like saved maps that you've have had access, and then you could select it from there. On iPhone, it wasn't as smooth as I thought it would be, but on the desktop, like having it embedded, let's say on your website, where like the different locations of the addresses, I found that more useful. So Maps does offer a bit like a customized map for a website, let's say, than like a mobile experience. With Kanban boards, it's great for quick bulletins board style layout where learners can scroll to find specific resource through category specific columns, right? Kanban boards can be very messy if you have like 50 different links, because then you're scrolling forever trying to figure out which one it was and things like that. So again, if it's too big, it's kind of, you can still navigate it better than a spreadsheet, but still a little challenging. With maps, it offers geographically mapped resources like local digital skill training sites, employment opportunities, or nearby community centers. It allows you to group them as well, which I will show you an example. And then apps, it's ideal for creating an interactive mobile friendly resource hub accessible on any device. Apps, it sounds like I'm pushing everyone towards apps. The way I look at when I'm offering services and support, or I'm trying to support a group of people, is that I try to go through the work so they could have access to the experience, right? Sometimes that means that we need to troubleshoot, kind of figure out some of the kinks of things that do not really work. But once that's streamlined and it's available, you went through all of that work, they just get access to what they need when they need it. And that's what I try to strive for. Yes, thank you, Amy. Great question. Okay. So number one, spreadsheets. Spreadsheets available here in, with exception of Airtable. Airtable, there's a fee if you're, especially if you're doing collaborative. There is a monthly price to it. Otherwise, it's pretty much Google is free. Excel will depend on your agency. If your agency already has it, then there's no cost for you. Students could access a lot of them as view only. And when you're the way they're being used, they could access it for free. They just can't work off of that document, because then there's like feeds again. And especially like if you're in a mobile phone, you can still open it. But Google is free. With the Kanban boards, yes, Daniel. So there are free resources. You can access Airtable for free. It's once you start working in sharing, I think if you're just sharing without any collaborating, I think there's a limit. I know they changed it from what I was using it more actively, so I'm not sure what the parameters are now. But yes, they do. You can create them for free if it's for yourself. If you're sharing out, there might be a limit. I'm not quite sure. But if anything, I can follow up. But you're welcome. With Kanban boards, unfortunately, we had Wakelet, which was free for a while. That was my go-to, right? Because it had like most of the Padlet features, but also you could create as many as you want. You could collaborate. Wakelet joined Padlet in the sense that now there's now a subscription, and there's a limit. Some agencies have access through it through their districts because they might already have access, and then you as a district employee have access. If that's the case, it's golden. Anyone can participate if it's your Padlet or your Wakelet. There are some limitations with price. I mean with the tiers. So again, same thing. Maps, which right now the only one I covered was Google My Map. That is free. You could create the maps. You can choose how you want to work on it. You could import a spreadsheet, but it doesn't communicate like with Google Sheets and Glide. That you just import whatever you imported at that point. That's what's there. And if you wanted to do it again, or you made some changes, you have to re-import. And then apps, it's the first app for Glide is free. After that, there's prices for it. There is a workaround for that. I have a a wakelet with instructions of setting it up so that way you could share it to people. There's like a bigger number of people that could access it. But that first one is free, and then after that, there's a cost for it as well. Thank you, Amy. And then for your question. Best practices for selecting the right tool, right? So first off, consider learners' digital skill levels. Very important. You need to ensure that the tool matches their current abilities. They have to have access to it. They need to be able to navigate through it. Sometimes it's just doing an onboarding, just showing them how it is. I do the app usually because it's on your phone. They have their phone on them all the time, and they can just go and tap on it, and then they have access to it. There's other ways that you could show them. It's just there's always whatever that digital skill that you're trying to that they need. You just need to make sure that you're addressing it so they could access it, right? The second piece is assess device accessibility. So choose tools that align with what learners can access easily. So again, this is looking at specifically devices. So it's smartphones, tablets, and computers. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Christy. I appreciate you coming in. And then last but not least, we have empower learners. Select tools that not only provide immediate resources, but also support long-term digital proficiency, fostering growth in their roles within society, family, and friendships. This is a very high level one. You will need to really start small, right? But the more, basically the premise of this point, the more practice opportunities you provide to your learners, the more efficient that they would get. Learning that this is a mouse. Well, learning that this is a mouse, left click and right click and scroll doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden proficient with a mouse. They need that practice in order to gain that proficiency. And a lot of the digital skills that we teach need those opportunities to apply and be proficient with those as well. If you have any questions, you could put them in the chat. I'm going to show you how to get this. I'm going to say like, oh, how you could get this done very quickly, right? This is assuming that you already did the the spreadsheet to collect your resources. I will show you what it looks like once I upload it. And then I'll show you how quick it is to get it up, but customization is after, right? So if I do a new app, Digital Navigator. These are the options that I was referring to. So you could have like glide tables, Google Sheets, Excel, and Airtable, right? I'm doing Google Sheet. So I'm going to do this one, right? No, not that one. I don't remember which one I wanted to do. Let me do Tech Hub example. I think this was based off what Jerry had shared. For context, I'm going to show you first what it looks like. This is the spreadsheet that I have, right? I put in my subject, I put description, there's a type of resource, the name, an attachment, which is the link to it. It could be anything. You can have an address, you can have 3 different categories, right? You decide how you want the resource to show. And then only thing I did was upload it to Glide. And then what you have here is a list of just names. You don't see everything on the row, you see specific information. So right now I see here access internet and devices, right? To make it look better, it's just picking up like the main category, not like the name of the tool. You want to make it so you get the name of the tool. But then here you have everything here is like it's a column, is the column name for that row. And then you have here the attachment. So then you click on it, it takes you to the 211 where he was sharing the free and discounted broadband internet. And then again, it's a matter of it being organized in a way that you could access it quick and easy. And it's on the phone, so you just access it that way. I have again, I have the Wakelet. I would include that in the presentation and I'll share that out. It walks you through how to make sure that you could create like a basic application plus a template, a spreadsheet template that you can use to like add your own resources. The other thing I wanted to go was to Google My Map, right? So I'm going to click on Google My Map. I just added a new map. And then I'm adding, I think it was, no, shoot, wrong button. I'm clicking here, import. I'll go to my Google Drive. I'll go to recent. If you have any questions, you can put it in chat. I'm almost done. Okay. So I'm adding a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is a list of different locations from the different agency locations for the adult education agencies in Connecticut. Cannot think about it, right? So then I selected what I would like, right? And then I click continue. So I'm putting location name as the title. Oh, it didn't work. Let me try one more time. I'm gonna do this location name. Oh, my bad. That's what happens when you don't read. I need to pull, I think it's the address. Nope. It's not working. I'm sorry. But if it worked how it's supposed to, right? You have the address and then yeah, it's not coming up. But basically you have the address, you put it up, and then all of a sudden you get your location. So it's gonna look something like this one. Right? So these are like the adult education agencies. You have by region here. If I go to Bristol, I have the Bristol information here. I could see the website, so I could click on the website, it'll take me to Bristol Adult Education. So if you're having services around the area, you want to make like your local map, then this is a way you could do it. But again, mobile wise, this wouldn't work as well as I would like. With that said, this is the end of the presentation. The important thing here is to make sure that whatever tool that you use is you're trying to make sure that you're making it accessible for everyone. that everyone in your program can access. To just provide that equal opportunity, right? And at the same time, give them that the opportunity for them to continue their learning, right? They start with you and they build all these skills, and as they look at other community events and things that they could do outside of the agency, that they get that digital autonomy that we want them to have and be resilient. And as they get ready to, continue to work on their goals and things like that. If you don't have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If not, thank you so much for being part of the first ever digital navigator training. This year, it's been a pleasure to be here to present a lot of these with you and be part of this. Feel free to reach out for tech support and implementation. We also have things on our website. And again, thank you very much for attending. Oh, yes, there's a digital navigator meeting. November 25th is the first digital navigator meeting. We'll be following up with all digital navigators with more information for the digital navigator meeting.
Thanks, Jose. Thanks for all your work with us for today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.